Hello. I would like to talk to you about my personal definition of the word romantic and of romanticism. First, though, I would like to apologize for the very crude and amateurish nature of this video and of all my videos. I'm very sorry about that, but I'm just not very good with this kind of thing, and you will also have to forgive me that I need to see my script there, so I won't be able to have lots of eye contact with you. I'm very sorry about that. I really strive to be as authentic as possible, but without a script I'm just lost. So you can be sure that the content I'm talking about and also the feeling that I'm trying to convey, they are authentic. It's just that I can't talk freely, I'm afraid. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about romanticism. What do I mean when I say that I am a romantic? Well, there are many different definitions of the words romantic and romanticism, but when I use this word, I mean my own very special definition of romanticism. In fact, if I could, I would rather prefer to use my own term. And maybe I will in the future. Who knows? But for now, for better understanding, let's just stick with romantic. Indeed, just by saying I am a romantic, I already associate myself with an already existing concept and movement even. I'd rather prefer to say I'm the romantic in order to show that I'm doing my own unique thing and that I don't affiliate myself with any pre-existing romantic notions. But this might come across as a bit too egotistical and over the top, which is not my intention. So for the moment, let's just say that I am a romantic. I am my own kind of romantic. And I want to make it perfectly clear that this is not an act. I'm not playing a role. This is who I am. This is the first time, this whole idea with my YouTube channel, this is the first time for me to even to attempt to be my own authentic, romantic self. This video can be seen as an introduction. By giving a brief introduction to my definition of romanticism, I want to lay the groundwork, so to speak, for everything else that is to come. After this, everything that gets mentioned in this video will be discussed much deeper and in much greater detail in future videos. But I also want you to know that romanticism will be just one of several topics of this channel, albeit a very important topic, a recurring topic, but not the only one. So in future I will refer to this video as a kind of a starting point and a prerequisite of sorts for all further videos. But of course I will always refer you to all the relevant videos in each case and give you the links and etc. You know, what YouTubers do. But now let's look at romanticism and its different forms. Of course, there is the prevailing modern definition of romanticism. What are the first things people think of these days when they hear the word romantic? Corny pop songs, love movies, rom-coms, red roses, candlelight dinners, and so on, I would imagine. Nowadays, romanticism has a rather feminine connotation, and men who call themselves romantics tend to come across as quite effeminate. Romanticism has almost exclusively become associated with love affairs and relationships. But it wasn't always this way. Historically, we find the most prominent manifestation of Romanticism in the form of the European Romantic movement, which was first and foremost a literary movement, before it also got picked up by philosophy and music and the arts. Broadly speaking, the period in question spans from around 1790 to 1840, but that's just a very rough estimate. However, it is impossible to pinpoint exact dates, as European Romanticism unfolded in several phases and emerged at different times across various countries. In Germany, for example, you had people like Novalis, Schlegel, Tieck, Brentano, E.T.A. Hoffmann, Eichendorff and Caspar David Friedrich. In England, of course, you had Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, Byron, Shelley, Blake. In France, you had Victor Hugo, Lamartine, Chateaubriand, de Vigny, Delacroix. And even in the US, the Transcendental movement, which came a bit later, was also heavily influenced by continental Romanticism. The main characteristics of Romanticism are usually identified as an emphasis on feeling, inspiration and intuition, a love for the Gothic, for the night, for the supernatural, for everything mysterious, a love of nature, fierce individualism, a brooding, melancholic disposition. Hamlet, for example, is often seen as a romantic prototype and predecessor of sorts. Also world-weariness, solitariness, and concepts such as the artist as genius, the beautiful and the sublime, and the Byronic anti-hero, named after Lord Byron and his literary works and characters. Romanticism is often seen as a counter-movement to classicism and the Enlightenment, which were both prominent at the time. And indeed, several romantics consciously distanced themselves from what came before them and took an opposing stance. But just as many had no such conscious agendas. It would be a gross oversimplification to see Romanticism as nothing more than just a critical response to classicism and the Enlightenment. It's not that simple. The distinction between Romanticism and all the other movements of the time, of that period, including, for example, Sturm und Drang, Storm and Stress in English, Empfindsamkeit, sentimentalism, and so on, is far from clear-cut. And I will explain why in another video. Regarding this unique time period, the late 18th and early 19th century, I profess with glowing cheeks that I absolutely adore it. I love this period with all my heart. This period is for so many reasons my favorite historical period. Even though there are, of course, other periods that I also love very much. But this is my favorite of all. If I were free to choose the historical period I would like to live in, if it could be only one, then this would be the one, the Romantic period. For various reasons, mainly aesthetic ones. I mean, for example, as you can see, I really love the fashion of the time. I think it's just gorgeous and it's the best thing ever. But also, well, and just as a side note, also fashion will also be another topic for other videos. But suffice it to say that the main inspiration for my own brand of Romanticism stems from this very rich period. And I identify myself very strongly with several writers and artists who were active at that time. So much so that I also intend to create a whole series of videos dedicated to their lives, to the lives of these artists and writers, these romantics, and their works, and often, quite often, their very tragic romantic struggles. Coming to my own understanding of Romanticism now. Before I get to it, though, a preliminary note. From here on out, when I speak of the Romantic, I always mean my personal interpretation of it. So just for convenience sake, I won't always add, in my view, it's this and that, because I don't want to endlessly repeat myself. For me, Romanticism is first and foremost a deep passion and longing, a yearning of the soul. And here we come in this whole authentic problem territory again, because when I say things like that, it's a deep yearning, it's a deep passion, it's a deep longing, it feels artificial, of course. I can't really convey my real, true feeling. That's the problem for me. But they are real. I wish I could give you a better sense of it. I could give it a more. I wish it could be more raw somehow, you know, unfiltered. But it is difficult to convey these kind of things properly, these deep feelings, and so I will have to make do with this. But yeah, well, you will just have to believe me that even though it sounds a bit strained or over the top, that well, that's really the way I feel. Right. So the embodiment of the Romantic is for me, is a sensitive soul who carries a deep pain and profound sorrow within their hearts. The romantic soul is driven by a consuming, unfulfilled longing and restlessness, a soul yearning for a kind of love and fulfillment that reality can never provide. A delicate soul, longing for a kind of beauty and harmony that it will never find in the real world. A tragic, tormented soul, incapable of finding happiness on earth. A deeply poetic, artistic and creative soul. A soul that longs for the transcendent, for metaphysical realms beyond the material. A melancholic soul that feels more at home in solitude, in lonely places, in ruins and old castles and churches and graveyards and all that wonderful stuff, than in modern cities, modern places. A shy, introverted soul, feeling like an alien among humankind. But also a defiant soul, rebelling against the order of the world. A soul who refuses to yield, who fights for their ideals, who pursues their dreams, even when they are doomed to fail. Fighting hopelessly, yet heroically, for their vision of paradise, even if such a paradise seems utterly impossible. An idealistic soul, who refuses to compromise, who would rather perish than betray their ideals. A hopeless lover, forever seeking their missing half, in order to complete them, to feel whole again. Now, this description I just gave you was, in fact, as you, I'm sure, have already guessed, a self-description. I was, in truth, describing myself. This is who I am. This is my romantic outing, so to speak. And I must say, I feel proud doing it. Too long I have been ashamed of these tendencies, but not any longer. They say that love makes the world go round, that everything is full of love, that the whole universe is permeated by the energy of love. Well, Romanticism is the purest essence of love. Romanticism is the religion of love. Romantics are priests and prophets of love. They say that inspiration, creativity, and artistic expression are divine gifts, and that nothing compares to being inspired, to be lit by the creative spark. Well, Romanticism or Romantics are the purest form of artists, because they live to be inspired. Romanticism is a living poetry, because in my romantic worldview, the whole of existence is one big poem, a divinely inspired piece of art. Creation is one prolonged moment of ecstatic, orgasmic inspiration. You ride the wave of ecstatic feeling and never come down. There is no room for shallow banality and no room for fear or hate. You are in love with everything. You are inspired by everything. You are moved to tears by everything. You are feeling with the greatest intensity and the most tender sensitivity. Romanticism is like a cosmic trip. It combines everything that makes existence noble and sublime. Everything that makes life worth living. And there is no choosing. You are either born a romantic or you're not. I can't understand all those people who were romantics in their youth but later on turned into complacent bourgeois conservatives. I mean, I'm 38 now, obviously past my youth. And my romanticism burns as bright within me as ever. Because for me, it's not a choice. It's a condition. I couldn't change even if I wanted to, which I don't. It's part of my DNA. I can't help it. If I were to deny my romantic streak, I would deny the core of my being. And for me, there is nothing worse than a half-hearted romanticism. Like the watered-down version of so-called romanticism that is so common these days. True romantics are born romantic. And they will die romantic. Because for them, it's a need, it's a credo, etched into their being. Those who see romanticism just as a phenomenon of youth, just as a phase, a fever dream of youth's raving summer heat, are no true romantics. Not in my book. It's true, romanticism is a fever, but it's a fever that never subsides. It's a fire that can't be contained. And there are only two options. You either become the fire, you embrace it, or you perish in it. If I had to describe my romanticism in just a few words, they would be these. Love, passion, deep emotions, intensity, longing, poetry, beauty, mysticism, sublimity, transcendence, melancholy, sorrow, restlessness, rebellion, idealism, heroism, and world-weariness. And yes, all of these aspects can already be found in the Romantic movement 200 years ago. But I don't stop there. For me, it goes even further. For me, Romanticism is a fundamental force of nature, a universal force right at the heart of existence. It's a divine fire. It's Promethean. It's Dionysian. And no wonder, because it is an expression and a combination of the strongest forces in the universe, like love and passion and beauty and inspiration. It's all of that and much more. The romantic force or drive is a life force. It's the life force that drives everything. It's an expression of the passion to be, its feeling, its intensity, it's a rapture, it's a frenzy, it's everything that makes you feel alive and that wants to create. It's a creative force. It's a loving, creating, passionate force that always wants to be fully in the moment, wants to be enraptured, enamored by being, living and feeling. It's the highest high. It's ecstatic. It's the force that makes you want to live and love and create. Create more life and to be even more, to spread being, spread ecstasy, spread the romantic feeling. It's not just roses and romantic movies. No. So in a nutshell, the romantic is love, is the poetic, is the ideal, is the great life force, is everything that makes life meaningful and beautiful and rich and dramatic in a positive way. Being a romantic means living a beautiful divine drama. It means living life like a big poem, a big epic, a beautiful divine piece of art of which you are the creator as well as the protagonist. And the great evil, the great enemy is the prosaic, the mundane, the quotidian, which has to be fought and rebelled against any way possible through romantic, artistic, aesthetic and creative means. For a true romantic, it's better not to be than to live a prosaic life. If you want your life to have any meaning and value, at least in my view, then you have to become a romantic. You have to be a romantic. You are a romantic by default. I mean, what else is there? What could be greater and more meaningful than love and beauty and art and poetry and creativity and inspiration and the sublime? And all of this is the romantic for me. These are all the expressions of the divine romantic force. And the real or the prosaic is the solar opposite that makes my life just miserable. This is the struggle which lies at the heart of my existence, which will be an important recurring topic. And this brings me to the end of today's session. First of all, if you have watched this far, then you are amazing. You truly are of a very special breed indeed. Thank you for that. As I said, this video was only intended as a short introduction. There's more to come, so stay tuned. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening. I hope that there are at least a few people out there who understand what I'm talking about and who can relate to what I'm saying. And please feel free to comment and to contact me. I would love to hear from you. This is not just a one-man show. It's supposed to be a dialogue. I mean, that would be the ideal. It is my hope to inspire, to encourage, and to connect, but also to be inspired by you. So I say, until next time we meet, good night out there, whoever, whatever, and wherever you may be. Bye-bye.